Camile and Eilís are founding members of Women in Carbon, a networking initiative designed to empower and amplify the voices of women in the carbon industry. The Carbon Exposure Project is proud to partner with Women in Carbon in order to provide a platform for greater dialogue and inclusivity of the voices of women in our market.
Thank you very much for joining me.
No, thank you for having me. Lovely to see you.
Cheers. Chin chin, as we say in Belgium.
I know, yes, chin chin.
So Eilís, do you want to tell us first a little bit about how you landed in carbon industry?
Yeah, for sure. So I always think like everybody who comes into carbon, they always say they just landed in it. I don't think I've ever met anyone who was like, my intention was to be in carbon and I got here. I actually started by doing a law degree. Realized quite quickly I didn't want to be a lawyer. I loved the degree and I loved learning it, but decided it wasn't the career for me. So as I got to the end of that, I decided I wanted to do something in sustainability. I'd always been super interested in my own time, but hadn't really kind of recognized that actually I could have a career in that. So I then decided to do a master's to kind of switch skill sets, because I recognized that if I had just done law and then went over, I might not be able to kind of be able to enter into the market. So I then did a master's in environmental management for business. And whilst I was there, completely by fluke, I came across Kita. So I joined them as an intern. I was looking for a kind of dissertation topic, and I always think it's one of my luckiest moments that was the first thing that popped up on my LinkedIn. And I literally just saw the internship kind of advert and I thought that's perfect, that's exactly what I am. They wanted a kind of law graduate who was interested in climate, and I thought, that's me. So I applied there and then I joined them as an intern for a few months. And then I couldn't resist and I joined them full time. They're an amazing team, so I was super lucky to kind of fall into that incredible kind of startup in a very evolving market. I have to say I didn't really know anything about the carbon markets before I joined them, so it was definitely a learning curve, steep one, which again I think everyone says. Yeah. And I don't think that ever stops.
True.
Yeah. So so I joined them full time in the January, and then I've been there ever since. So I'm now there as their carbon markets and partnerships analyst. So yeah, that was kind of my landing in the carbon markets. But
yeah, and then you joined us, like co-found the Women in Carbon initiative.
Yes, which was amazing. So I actually, again, it was something I did. I came to the B0 event, which you did initially, in the kind of November time of last year, I think it was. And then I went to that event, loved it, and then you kindly were like, anybody who's interested in joining, come.
I remember that very well.
Yeah.
Remember when you came talking to me? Indeed.
Yes, yeah. So it was, and again, that was a great event because I hadn't really met, all the women in the industry, and you kind of started that, which was brilliant. And then, so we had that kind of event, and then obviously after that you said, anyone who wants to kind of keep going with this, come along. So Mel, actually, who's one of my colleagues at Kita, we were both like, yeah, we'll do this for sure. And then ended up being one of the co-founders, which was just amazing. And now have an incredible group of 10 women, 12 women, 10 women, who are just, amazing. So that was really fun and definitely one of the highlights of kind of my very early stage career so far. So yeah, really, really been a fab experience. So.
And so how, from your perspective, is Women in Carbon initiative like that really helping the carbon industry? Oh,
massively. I think from my perspective, as I guess someone who's kind of like new to their career and new to the space as well, the opportunity to meet so many different women, all at very different stages of their career, has been really amazing. So I think not only the opportunity to kind of meet people who are peers, because I think that's just as important, like meeting people who are at a similar stage to me, and hopefully will be kind of alongside the whole way through my career. But then also to be able to learn and meet and kind of have direct interactions with people who are at the kind of late stages in their career or at a very like high level. It's something I actually don't think many people get the opportunity to do, especially in other markets. Like, I think this market is very unique because it actually provides you with the opportunity to have those interactions. Whereas if I was in another kind of sector, to be sat here with a CFO or a CEO or those sorts of things, like it might not be a thing. I might not have those opportunities. So I think from that sense, it's been incredible to just kind of have that as a way to, and a kind of an option for me and an opportunity. I think just the kind of being part of the initiative has been so much fun. Like, again, I think actually to have something where your own initiative makes an impact, again, is another thing that I think is quite unique. Like the fact that people from all different stages of their career can come together and actually make quite a large impact on a market that they're relatively new to. Again, something I'm not sure you get elsewhere. So I think that's been great. And then obviously just having the representation. I know, I mean, I'm very lucky at Kita, we're a majority of women. So I already have a lot of kind of female role models and peers, which is great. But actually to see that market wide, interact with people in loads of different roles, like, you know, you've got people who are very scientific, data, business development, you know, you've got people across a whole host of roles. And I learn things all the time. You know, we have these panel events and which we like to set up, you know, with different themes. So we've had like a founders one. I know we're getting a science-based one. I learn loads. I mean, you know, you go and sit and you listen to these women who've had so much experience, and which again is just such a great learning opportunity. So I see a lot of kind of benefits personally, but also with just generally being part of the initiative. So.
Yeah, I agree. I also learned so much from all the events that we organize. And I think what's also great is just to see that we always manage to organize these events with different companies.
Yes.
And just like shows that the interest is really like market wide. And our next event with Silvera actually is also a good proof, right? It's just like diversity is not about like who we're competing against, because obviously, but yeah, it's very interesting to see all women come together and just like be able to share and just learn from each other.
Yeah, and also like access other events. Like I know you've been amazing at kind of interlinking us with different conferences, and I know we recently had one with Carbon Forward where we had the breakfast, and like actually that introduced us to a lot of new people who we might not necessarily have kind of engaged with. So that's been great fun. So yeah, I mean, I think the way that it's kind of scaled, and like you said, the access to different companies that we have has been super interesting, and to work so closely with different companies as well, because as an initiative, like obviously when we do those events, it's a collaborative kind of job. So yeah, definitely.
I do hope also that we'll be able with these initiatives to change a little bit like diversity within the space and within companies. I do think that diversity is representation in the first step, but I also do think that diversity is about shifting those mindsets, changing the cultures,
yes,
and adjusting systems that were, I think, initially also and historically designed for male-dominated workforces. So I'm just like wondering how we can also bring and give back to the space, and also like take all our learnings as women to just educate companies and help them reach kind of that diversity in their workforce.
Yeah, and it shows that it's possible. Like, I mean, you see women in these leadership roles, you see them as founders, like I said, you see them in kind of the C-suite roles, you see them in different like kind of skill sets as well, very scientific heavy roles, and actually being exposed to that and knowing that that is a possibility. All these women have done it, like why can't I do that? That's definitely been, it's that shift in mindset of actually like, no, that is possible. You can go and run a company if you want to run a company. You can go and, you know, lead the science side or lead the partnership side or do whatever. Like the amount of women we have across that whole plethora is amazing. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely kind of a shift in attitude for people there, but then also, you know, hopefully as well as we get other organizations involved, like you said, kind of helping that make that a priority.
Yeah, and let's not forget also the role that men play in diversity, right?
100%.
So, like it's not all about like women, and we're also inviting men to join our events, which is very important.
Yeah.
So no, I think it's really essential to also like remind everyone that men do have a role to play here. It's
100%. You can't, you know, it would defeat the object if it was just one. You know, it needs to be an inclusive kind of. It needs to be an inclusive initiative when we speak to everybody about it, and I hope that we've done that and kind of fostered that. And continue to do so. It's exciting. It'll be.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the discussions that I had recently with someone we're debating about like how to best achieve diversity, and that person was telling me about the great initiative that the company had, that they were basically building that women program where women had specific trainings on leadership, on how to increase their presence and improve their communication skills. And we had a big debate where I told him like, but that's not really building diversity, that's not really helping your company, because basically what you're doing is training women to behave more like men. So I think men need to be part of that story, and it's about like really educating the entire company on how to be inclusive. And it's not only about gender. Obviously we're focused on gender here, but it's like it's overall diversity and all the benefits that it can bring to a company. So that's also a very important point. But there are those kind of discussions that I like to have, and I like to challenge kind of the positions that people sometimes have, and the beliefs that I have on how to achieve diversity.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's a super important topic, and I think, like you said, we're focused on one element of it, but it's a much wider picture. But I think it's just been really amazing to see the types of women and the kind of roles they're in, and just have those interactions. Like I said before, I don't think it's something I would have had the opportunity to do, and the people I've spoken with and the stories they tell and the kind of experience they've had, you don't get that in many other places unless you're in a kind of company where they're all there. But actually this gives you that kind of sense of the whole market, which is so interesting. So
enriching.
Yes, very.
What an amazing setup.
I know, it's been amazing, and such an incredible platform for the Women in Carbon network as well. So
and look at how we took over the entire carbon exposure project.
I know, look at us.
Hello.
So Renee, how do we take it from here? How do we build a partnership, a long-term partnership between Women in Carbon Exposure project?
Firstly, thank you for being here. Like really, it's an honor and privilege to have you guys on this platform. And as I mentioned, and to answer that question, the intention is really to develop a strategic partnership here so that we can actually have more representation for women in carbon industry and be represented on the platform. So effectively, I leave it up to you guys to decide, but I'd love it for Women in Carbon members to be not only guests, but also the moderator on the platform itself. Because I think it's disingenuous for me to represent, I can't represent the female voice. And so essentially handing over the platform to you guys to shoot and interview really interesting people that are leading the carbon market forward.
Amazing, thank you so much for this opportunity, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Renee.
Can I make you guys a cocktail?
Of course.
How's Negronis?
Amazing, let's go for it.
Thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure to actually work with you guys and really excited for the future for collaboration. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.